What is going on, good people? I have to do that long dramatic pause. And just like Jay-Z, guess who's back? That's right. It's your boys, Mike and Phil, with the Man of Real Talk podcast, a podcast for the people. Listen, we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us for another episode. And we just want to say thank you for all the likes, the clicks, the shares, and downloads, and whatever it is that you do to support this podcast, because we know had it not been for you, it wouldn't be no us. So we thank you. We thank you.
Yes,
we thank you. It's a new year. It's a new season. And we are back. Yes, we had an extended winter break, but I'm feeling good. We back with some more good conversation and all that good stuff. Before we even get into that, though, I just want to say, if you're joining us for the first time, I want to say thank you. And I want to say welcome. And I hope you enjoy. And I hope you stick around. And I hope you come back for some more. And those of you that are coming back for another helping, a second scoop, a double dip, if you will, we say welcome back, because your boys is back on the air, the Man Up Real Talk podcast. Listen, as you can see, I'm never by myself, because joining me to the right on my screen, I don't know what direction he is on yours, but on my right is Mr. Philip Hines, a.k.a. Mr. Classic, a.k.a. OG Triple OG.
Come on, man. I told you, stop doing that. Stop doing that.
He's in the building. And today is a special day. It ain't just because it's Black History. No. It's a special day because it's my brother's birthday on today. I don't know how old he is. I just know he's old. But we thank God for the year.
You know what? Just because Black History Month, I'm going to relax on you a little bit this month. But I promise you, man, next month, I'm coming. Look, I can't pause. I'm going to get you. Trust me.
We think, but look though, real talk. I know I said this on my Facebook post, but you know, like I had all sisters. I have no biological brothers whatsoever. But the Lord has put a few guys in my life that I can honestly call my brother, and Philip is one of them. I said Philip like his whole government name, but Phil is definitely one of them.
Mr. Dirksen building Phil.
I know, but Phil is definitely one of them. You know, when it comes to this podcast, he has been ride or die from the first date, from its inception, before we even did our first recording. He's been here, and he has been a big component in what we do with the podcast. And I just want to say on live stream that I appreciate him, and I thank him for how he has always supported, how he's always backed, how he's always encouraged, how he's always just like, Mike, we got it. This is this. I mean, he's just always been that type of dude. So, man, I appreciate you and I love you, bro. And I pray that the Lord just bless you with many, many more years, and that he continues to lead you and to guide you and give you all that is in his will for you, my friend. I appreciate you for real.
I appreciate that, brother. Now, you know, we family, man. Number love
yes,
over
sir.
here. I'm riding with you till the wheels fall off. I told you that.
Sir. Appreciate everybody that's in the chat. Eric, you are not new here. Stop it.
Eric say no.
Look, Eric trying to pick people
hey,
up.
We're
not doing that today, Eric. We're not doing that today.
Eric say I'm new here.
In the building. Yeah, Eddie talking about something. He's new here. Eddie is in the building, man. What's going on, Eddie?
Brother?
We appreciate you. Sister Tina, God bless you, darling.
Tina, what's going on? How you doing?
Actually, Tina, no, it's not a lava lamp. It's this. it's this little galaxy thing. Here's the story behind that. I initially got this for our Halloween trunk or treat last year, thinking that we were going to do it by the time it got dark, because I had this whole thing. I had the glasses that light up. We had like gloves and stuff. I mean, it was just going to be fantabulous. But we ended up doing it earlier in the day, in the afternoon, so I really had no use for it. And it just so happens that one night I decided to just use it for the podcast because I got tired of just having a plain white wall behind me, and I don't really like using the little virtual backgrounds and stuff. And I looked at it, I was like, actually don't look half bad. And everybody was like, oh, I like your rave. Eric got excited and he started calling me, like, let's go out. And I'm like, no, I'm good.
Relax, Mike. Don't do that. Don't do that, Mike. Don't do that. Come on,
I
man.
was like, no, but you can look at the lights. That's all I'm saying. And so I just kept it. And it is what it is right now. But listen, I appreciate everybody that's hanging out. Everybody that's watching live, that's commenting. Listen, we have a fantabulous show on tonight. Who else in there? Oh, I see Sister Michelle. Look, real quick, let me shout out Sister Michelle. Some of you all may not know Michelle Hudson. Michelle Hudson is one of the members in our church, and she does the media stuff for the church. So when you see like the different posts and the flyers and things for the church, that's Michelle Hudson. I appreciate Michelle because when I see her put stuff out there, that pushes me to try to step my game up. So now you see me, I'm trying to do videos and I'm doing all type of different things, man. I've been chasing Michelle Hudson because I love her work. She does great work. I promise you she do. So if you out there, if you need somebody to do a flyer for you or like promotional type materials, man, definitely hit up Michelle Hudson. I do my thing. Don't get me wrong. I do my thing and it's okay. But I'll really be like, I'll be really chasing Michelle. She inspires me to keep pushing and to do better. So Michelle, if you're still watching, I appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. You do your thing, and so I thank you for that. And she did our men's fight exactly, and it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, I'm gonna have to. I'll post it in the chat, man. It's a really really great flyer, and I'm not just saying that just to say it. If anybody knows me, I don't brag on people just to do it. If I'm telling you about somebody, it's a genuine thing, and I want you to really know about that person. Just like I want you to know about our next guest. Now I know most of y'all up in here probably already know who he is. But for the benefit of those in the back, for the benefit of those in the cheap seats, for the benefit of those that may be tuning in just to see if I'm still winning, because I am.
Stand up.
I'm just saying. Our next guest is I've been knowing this young man for over 20 some odd years. When I think about it, it's been over 20 years, I believe. And he has always impressed me as being not only just a stand-up individual, but a man of God. And that's
right.
and I say that because in this day and age, that's kind of hard to find.
Yep.
Somebody who is legitimately genuine and who genuinely loves the Lord. And as of these last few years, the Lord has been taking him on a journey where he has been putting out he's become for all intents and purposes a fantastic author. I think he has 4 books out now, if I'm not mistaken. It may be 5. Ain't no telling. The pastor, I think he wrote a dictionary and some other stuff. Listen, he write books. Oh, he got 6 books. He's signaling 6. My bad. He has 6 books. So, but
I was counting them in my head.
Is it really? Oh, it is. It is 6.
Yeah.
Dang.
This one here is the 6th book.
This is the 6th one. You're right, man. That's what's up. But he has 6 books out now, and his new book just came out, which is Black History According to God's Word. Listen, yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
He's spitting facts, y'all.
He ain't just talking. It ain't just
No,
stuff.
man. And he got scriptures to go with everything he's saying. So
he has
it's
scripture
really kind of hard to even
to back
argue
it
with it.
up. Yeah. But I appreciate this man, and I love this man because he's my pastor.
That's right.
And I just want to introduce him to some and present him to others.
Best
Pastor,
pastor on the south side of Chicago. Probably he
listen,
could be in Chicago. I
I'm
don't know
thinking
no
in
other
Chicago.
pastor.
I'm gonna say in
I'm gonna say
Chicago.
Chicago. I don't know no other
Let's just say
pastor when he
Chicago.
raised.
Yeah, Pastor Henry L. Reyes, everybody.
How you doing, sir?
Hello, gentlemen. Good night, good evening. How are you guys doing on this nice, warm spring, winter night?
Right?
Chicago.
Really? I mean, I'm like, it's actually not too bad. Listen, that after that initial frozen that initial weekend we had that it was kind of cold. It's been rather mild. So I appreciate it, man.
Very much.
How you been, Pastor?
Oh, hanging in there, man. Just doing my work, doing my thing.
Yeah, you're doing your thing. Where's your book at on Amazon right now?
I don't know. You know what? The first month, they put it in what they call new release categories, and that thing kind of blossomed there. That when it come out of the first month, they really don't compare you, because you can't compare a book that's been out 2 weeks with a book that's been out, somebody's book that's been out 3 years, right? So they algorithms to keep it up. So, I mean, Amazon has about, I don't know, I think they have about 16 million books in their repertoire. They say 30 million, but I think 16 available. And right now, this book in its paperback and hard copy is somewhere around 100,000, which is phenomenal.
That is.
A lot of people get rankings on Amazon because they print through Amazon, they sell through Amazon. So all of their books are sold primarily through Amazon. This book is being sold on Walmart. Walmart started putting it in their pop-up ads.
Okay.
I could tell they put it in their pop-up ads because looks like people they put the hard copy in there, and I saw the numbers on Amazon go low for the hard copies during that time. But it's being sold. Some people told me they bought it on Amazon. Some people saying, I'm sending notes saying that they got it from Barnes and Noble. So for it to be ranked anywhere on out of 16 million books, to be ranked around 100,000 when it goes into the general population. When it was in the new release, it was always in the top, the general population. That's phenomenal. And we just started with Black History Month. So
that's what's up.
We're gonna get the word out. We're gonna get the word out. The whole idea is get the information out.
That's it. That's it. Listen, if this is your first time joining us, again, I want to say thank you. I need y'all to do me a real quick favor. Now it's gonna cost you about nothing.
Free 99, y'all. Free 99.
It's free 99. All I need you to do is like, tag, and share. That's this video. I need you to tag somebody who you think may be interested in this video and share it. That's all I need y'all to do.
It's free, y'all. Please do that for us.
Man, if you can do that, I'd appreciate you. I listen. If I never said it before, I'm gonna say it now. I appreciate you.
I'm hoping that Debbie Hale Shelton, I'm hoping she's on here. She was one my English teacher when I was in high school, and she sent me a note. She's saying, "Let me know when you're going on so I can see this, because I'm very proud of you."
That's what's up right there.
She was the one that kind of really, really pushed me to inspire me to write when I was little kid growing up little black kid growing up in Mississippi Delta, and she was a young Caucasian teacher, and she kind of pulled me over to the side, and she, hey, you got this in you. You can do these things. You can do these things, and you can do it. So she kind of motivated me. But she sent me a note because she's my Facebook friend. Says she wanted to check this out. So
that's what's up. Okay. Shout out to all the real teachers out there, man. And y'all know who y'all are. I ain't talking about the ones that just send home packets of homework because you don't feel like doing your job. I'm talking about the real teachers. We appreciate y'all. So look, Black history according to God's word. I want you to first before we even get into the book, I I want you to tell the people why this, and I know you mentioned it in the book because that's the last chapter that you talk about, but I think I want to talk about that first, because this isn't the first time you've written a book in regards to where or like our role that we played in the Bible. Because if you don't know, he also wrote Biblically Black and Blessed 1 and 2. If you don't have those, get
I'm
those.
just about to go get mine, Pastor. I was just about to go get
Listen,
mine.
I want that fancy shiny one. I don't think I got that one. Yeah, that one is nice.
Updated
But
one.
oh, okay, yeah. So you need to get those and this one. Because if you get those two, now you don't need those two to understand this, but if you get those two, there are things in this book that reference some things that he speaks on in Biblically Black and Blessed too. But you've already written books in regards to our role and what and the role that we played in the Bible. I- Why was this book important? And what why did you have what was what was your motivation for getting this particular for getting this book out to the people?
Okay, this book is important for a couple of reasons, and I'll just two of them tonight. In Black History Month, we just about all the history that you're going to see in the major media is going to be history that's post 1619, time when they brought our ancestors over and forced them into slavery. And it's almost as if they're trying to tell us we didn't exist until 1619. So we only have history then. But this book goes all the way back to the very beginning. And so it was important to write because there are significant accomplishments that Black people made way before 1619. And they're outlined in the divine, in the inspired scripture, but they've been ignored or they've been assigned to other ethnic groups or to, let me put it this way, other nations. Let me say this. This has nothing to do with race.
Come on.
Because when at the very beginning, God established and he created the nation. He said he was going to populate the world with the nations. And that's what he did. And we have to understand that what God was doing was expanding his kingdom. And Jesus said that we should pray that his kingdom be established on earth like it is in heaven. Well, in heaven, the angels have assignments. You know, Gabriel has a different assignment than Michael. And we see that Gabriel, and then there are angels that have assignments to worship, and there are angels that have this assignment and that assignment. But I mean, it's not that any one order or any group of angels is better than the other. They just have different assignments. And God, when he was expanding his kingdom, he was setting up his kingdom on earth like it is in heaven, which is what Jesus said, told us to pray for. And so what you end up with is the nations have different assignments. And when we're talking about Black people, we're not talking about a race of Black people. We're talking about the nations of Black people. Yes, and we see that he established the world, he populated with nations. And then when we go to the very end of the Bible in Revelation, the 21st chapter, he talks about the New Jerusalem and how when God is dwelling with men and they're going to be in Jerusalem, but the nations will walk in the light of it. So the nations will be performing their assignments in God's kingdom. And there's no doubt that the nations that emanated from Ham have played a very, very, very critical role in the establishment of civilization as it is, and they will play a critical role in the establishment in God's kingdom at the end. Too often, when we consider assignments, we only consider the Jews. They were called to be the priest, but every other nation has assignments, and this is important. Then the reason this one is more important than or different than the others, because this one actually shows you that we have history from the beginning. And this is thousands of years before 1619 that we were prominent people, and we are prominent people in the divinely inspired scripture. We are prominent people, and God has given us a tremendous responsibility and assignment. He gave it to us in the earth and in the creation of civilization, and we will have that tremendous responsibility and assignment when God establishes his kingdom on earth.
That's right.
You know, thank you, Eddie. I was just about to say that. It seems to me, the reason why I love this book and the other books like it, and I think me and you, we talked about that, Pastor. I said it's something about Black people that when it comes to us and our heritage and where we come from, we never seem to have that aha moment. You know what I mean? Like that moment where you can say, "Oh man, that's why I'm like this," or that's, we never have that moment. And I always bring this up because I always enjoy it. And I even talked to Phil about this. I told him how I watched Moana. I know it's a Disney movie, but there's significance in this. Y'all just walk with me for a minute. But there's a part in the movie where, because she has an affinity for water and she loved the water, but her father was always keeping her from it. But there was just something about her attraction to the sea. And she, eventually found a cave where they had like these giant ships and everything. And she reconnected with her ancestors. And she found out that her people were voyagers. And the excitement that she had when she found out who her people were, it was just like, I've never had that moment. And when you get things like this, where you can read it and where there are facts that you can back up, like, this is who you are, this is where you came from, this is your makeup, that we need those type of things, because that stuff was taken from us. You can talk to any other culture and any other race, and they can tell you where their people came from, how they migrated, where they landed, how they ended up wherever they are, and the furthest we can go back is our people from the South, it seemed like. But we can never go ahead, Phil.
But you know what, Mike? But a lot of that fall on us also, because of course they don't teach us our history in our schools. So it falls on us to read. That's why it's good to have guys like brother Eddie. It's good to have Pastor writing the books, the Biblically Blessed and Black 1 and 2 and this one, because a lot of us don't take time out to learn our history. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we know that they're not going to teach it to us in our school, so we have to take the initiative to learn the history ourselves. So a lot of that it's going to always fall on us like that, because they're not going to teach us our true history in the schools.
I agree to it. I'm sorry. I just let me say that I agree with that to a certain extent, but you have to also understand that stuff was hid from us.
And that's what I was going to say. There was a comprehensive, very thorough job at separating us from our history and from our ancestors. And here's what I'm finding that's hard. That Black people, Black believers, is this is what I find. It appears that they find it hard to believe that the church, the Christian church, was complicit in that.
Absolutely.
And see, the Christian church was complicit in the overall narrative of separating us from our history and then redefining us as who they wanted us to be.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, they were complicit. And I find that it's very hard. It's very hard for Black believers to believe that the church was a part of this, or the church was complicit in this. But I've got a class that I teach on this that I'm going to be teaching in 2 weeks. And the very first part of that lesson is showing you how the church was complicit in dehumanizing the people from Africa in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
so that it fit into this narrative, and then they could go and preach the gospel to the creature, not to the human, but to the creature. And the church was just as complicit as any of the white supremacy politicians or any of the other entities on the globe or on the earth, right? The church was complicit. Consider this. Leopold, when he slaughtered over 10 million Africans in the Congo, and that's Western history, 10 million Africans. The actual African people say it was over 20 million that he slaughtered. He did it in the name of Christianity. He said he was bringing Christianity to the Congo, when all the time they wanted the minerals, they wanted the resources that was on African soil, right? But he did it, and you never hear anybody, you never hear anybody talking about Leopold, that he was a bad guy. He did all that as what they considered a good Christian. Church was just as complicit, and as I call out in this book, King James, they were just as complicit in dehumanizing the people off of the continent of Africa and dismissing them and diminishing the importance that God had assigned to, or their assignment from God. The church was just as complicit. And so now it's a time for truth. And we just need to know that. But I have to say one thing. If you ever want to oppress a people and separate them from their past, so that they remain impressed, and then indoctrinate them with what you want with what you want them to have. If you look at what has been done to us, that is the textbook example of the way to do it. It's textbook. And that's exactly what has happened. And my concern is that it's hard for people in the church to believe that the church, because when somebody said we want to be so accepted by the Western Christian circles that we want, and look, let me say this: none of the people today had anything to do with this. They didn't have anything to do with that, right? They were not around when these things happened, but the expectation should be that you should acknowledge that it happened, and that we should make amends and be one. We shouldn't just keep the same narrative going simply because that's the way it's always been, and we were fine and during it. No. I'm not blaming any of you all, any Caucasian person today for any of this. But you have to acknowledge that your ancestors created the narrative and set this up. And when you acknowledge that, we can come together then as one Christian or one believer, body of believers. But that's hard for some of them to acknowledge. I mean, it's just really
very hard.
You figure if that's something that they acknowledged, then they would also have to acknowledge the fact that they benefited from the systems that had been set up in the world. And who's going to admit that? They don't. I mean, that's the biggest, and you really hit it right on the head with that, because in order for us to even get past that, to acknowledging it is one thing, but after you acknowledge it, somebody have to be able to say, listen, you know what? Yeah, I benefited from this particular thing, and my ancestors played a role in setting up systems that was not going to benefit you as a people. And I acknowledge that, and we have to now look towards things that we can do to change those things, because you can look at folks. Yes, black people are more successful now than they've been. Black people are more advanced than they've been, but those systems are still in play.
Yes, they are.
They still exist, and until we can acknowledge that they exist and destroy them, those things are always going to be as an opposition unto us.
Yes.
I want to get to the book though.
Let's do it.
You know, we always talk. I remember when in school we always talk about, well, what would the world be without black people? We wouldn't have this, and we wouldn't have that, and we wouldn't have this. And but what if I told you guys that there was a time when there wasn't no white folk, when the world was all black?
Blackety black.
I mean, black.
Yep.
What would you do if I told you that? And here's the crazy part. There's a chapter in this book that talks about when the world was all black. And it began with an eviction and a murder.
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor, I want you to talk on that a little bit. When was the world all black, and how did that even come about?
See, this is why I built a timeline.
Let's talk about the Genesis. Okay, let's talk about the Genesis timeline first.
Yeah.
I like that because see, folks need they need things that's tangible. I need to see what you're talking about. So you created this table called the Genesis timeline. Talk about that, and then we'll get into how we was all black.
And what you see in that Genesis timeline, first of all scripture is given by God and to be used for doctrine. That's what the Apostle Paul said, inspired scripture. So that means that the 5th chapter of Genesis and the 10th and the 11th chapter of Genesis are not just there. They were inspired by God for a reason. Now, in that we can see, and it takes a lot of work, but you can get there. And that's why I did the work, right? And then I found out somebody else had did it too. So I just got their permission to use theirs instead of mine. I had built a table similar to that. But what you find out when you do it, you find out that this person was born at this time, and then they gave birth, and they gave birth at this age, then they lived so many years after they gave birth. Then the person that they gave birth to, they tell you about that. So you can put together a comprehensive timeline, and you can go all the way back to Adam. And you come from Adam, and it pretty much the timeline goes from Adam to Abraham in that table. That's the table. The timeline goes from Adam to 2024, but the table goes from Adam to Abraham, and then after that, we have historical records from Abraham that we can actually put this all together. But what this allows you to do, then, it allows you to see the totality and not conflate events, and not conflate things and just tie things together. You see that these things happen at this time, these things happen at this time, and these things happen at this time. And now you can see then, if we can find in that in the table we see, but in the timeline that goes throughout the book, if we can find out when the people left the continent of Africa, we can get a good idea of when nation building started, and the people were no longer one African people or one person from Africa. And this was eye-opening to me, because as we began to do this, the Lord showed me how he put them out of the garden on the east side, and then he constantly pushed them eastward. And then when they got to the point to where the Mediterranean was there, they had to cross that to go into the Mesopotamia. But
wait a minute, wait. You said the Lord was pushing them eastward?
He was pushing them eastward.
But now, that was a little different from what I remember the King James Version saying. I mean, it made it seem like they were going in a different direction.
And that's why we have to understand that the church was complicit in diminishing. The King James changed the direction. The Hebrew scripture specifically said God sent them eastward. King James said he sent them from the east, which means he sent them westward. Now the difference is, and this is the powerful point that Black people need to know, and that I've never seen in any of the books that I've looked at. Okay, even from Christian authors. I mean, I've got books that some of the Muslim people wrote, and I wouldn't expect them to see it because they're not using the Bible. But I've seen Christian authors write about Black history, and none of them have called this out. And I wouldn't have either had not the Spirit actually woke me up one morning and said, just kept saying, the Sumerians, the Sumerians, the Sumerians. And then the Lord took me to this. But this is what happened. Everybody is aware that in the lower Mesopotamia, civilization was formed. That's where we got the first schools. That's where writing was created. That's where the first doctors, the first pharmacists, the first engineering marvels. I mean, just about everything that we do today in the lower Mesopotamia, time was kind of defined there. And then when I say time, they defined the day as 24 hours, 12 a.m., 12 hour p.m. Then they defined a 60-minute hour, a 60 second. All of these things came in that lower Mesopotamia. That's where it came from. Now, God said that the people that went to the lower Mesopotamia came from the west, which means they came from Africa. King James changed that to say they came from the east, which means King James wanted the world to know, to think that they came from Europe and Asia instead of Africa. Wow. And I've never seen anybody and I've seen many, I've dealt with many Christian books on this. Nobody ever called this out, but this shows you that the church was just as complicit in creating a narrative of uncivilized savages as Black people as anybody else was, and we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that, and that's why I've stopped saying that this Bible is the Word of God and start saying it's what the translators tell us the Word of God is, because we don't speak the language. But what has happened was, it shows the complicity that the church had in the narrative that diminished, demeaned, and oppressed Black people.
That's right.
Wow.
It's the truth.
Since we're talking about narrative, and this is one that blew my mind when I came into the knowledge of it. I want to talk about the Tower of Babel and why and the role that played and King Nimrod. Because when you talk about narratives, somehow, some way, Nimrod went from being a great king and a mighty hunter to being slang for being an idiot and a moron.
Exactly.
I need you to.
Yeah, you gotta break that one down, Pastor. You gotta break that one down.
You gotta get into that one, because
that one down.
This we talk about this all the time, and we talk about how people can switch the narrative. You look at how Trump changed the narrative when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and how that went from him, just protesting police brutality to protesting the military. It's so easy for people to switch the narrative, and even the church, how it switches, uses the scripture for certain narratives. We talk about Nimrod, please, and what he was and the role that he played in the establishment of the nations within the world.
Let me put this way, because there's a historian named Eddie Phillips, and I watch his show.
I think I know that guy.
Yeah, he sounds familiar.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
Erudition Network. And he's always talking about how powerful it is when someone can define the narrative and define you in a narrative, and they can get that narrative out.
Yes.
How powerful it is. And I'm going to show you how powerful this is. You probably never heard anybody tell you like I'm going to tell you all tonight, but I'm going to show you how powerful it is to accept the narrative now. But you think how when something happens, Donald Trump, he's the first one that wants to hit the airwaves. Because he wants to define the narrative.
He wants to absolutely.
That's the narrative. That's power. But now, let me show you how powerful it was for when they set their narrative on Nimrod. I'm going to read you what I'm going to read you what the Bible said here about Nimrod. It said, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore, it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. Now, watch this. Watch it. You guys are NBA fans.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see this guy come and he do a crossover, knock the guy to see Gorman slam, what do you say? Man, that was a Jordan move.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Pastor. You're right.
Nimrod was so good at hunting. Look what it said. It said, and they said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. When people hunt and they get that shot, they say, man, that guy is as good as Nimrod. That's a Nimrod shot there. He had a Nimrod hit. Now, it was important for this reason. When the flood happened and the water subsided, the land was not suitable for vegetation and for bringing forth land. So God told Noah, he said, I'm giving you all the animals for food, right there in Genesis 9:3. Mm-hmm. Okay, what do you got to do? You got to hunt. Mm-hmm. And God was an expert. He was so good that as a matter of fact, when you look at the history, and now I'm going to history now, the archaeologists have uncovered historical records from Kish in the lower Mesopotamia that said Nimrod was the king that stabilized the land. Mm-hmm. How did he do that? He was such a great hunter that he became the standard, just like Jordan is. And the Bible tells us, it said like they said like Nimrod. Now, how do you move a man from that to someone that's clumsy, that's stupid? It's because they misunderstand, and I don't know, they don't want to understand the attempt at building the tower. They misunderstand the attempt at building the tower. Nimrod was not trying to overtake God.
Right.
He was living in a time where these people God had not given them any information. He had not given them any requirements. And so they, in all of these attempts and all of these things that they built, they wasn't trying to overtake God. They were trying to understand God. They were trying to find out who God is. They knew there was things that they were not that they were not responsible for, and things that was there that they couldn't do. So they wanted to find out. He wasn't building a tower to overtake God. As a matter of fact, they found in the records in the lower Mesopotamia that Nimrod was God-fearing. Now they found indication that he had anger because he did not have a son that could assume all the things that he had. That was his anger. But even in their records, he was called the one that stabilized the lands, and he was legendary as one that reached the heavens. There was nothing in there about him pushing back. And that's legend. That's legend. They found the legend that people brought because he was such a skillful hunter. Now, this is how powerful you can become if you can establish the narrative. You can take the greatest king in the king's list that they uncovered. They said King Nimrod was the greatest king in that lower Mesopotamia. Then he went out and founded Babylon and Iraq and all these other cities. He was a kingdom builder. He stabilized the land, but he was black.
That's right.
Because somebody else was going to set the narrative. See, it did not fit the narrative at that time to say that a black man was doing this and black people did it. At the same time, you were going into Africa and bringing black or taking their resources and you needed to dehumanize them in order to make it okay for you to do that. And so they took a brilliant, strong king like Nimrod and basically made him a tyrant, even though the Bible said he was like Jordan. People say, they said, just like Nimrod, man, when that animal was coming, that guy hit him and said, man, that was a Nimrod. You got him like Nimrod, just like they do like Jordan. You got him like Nimrod. Man, look at that. They basically changed the narrative. And this is why it was so important then to separate us from history. Right. And then teach us what they wanted us to teach, what they wanted us to know, and how they wanted us to know, the way they wanted us to know. And the church was just as complicit in that and colluded in that as anyone else. If you ever doubt about whether the church was complicit, read the book. Read the book. Of making a Negro into a Christian. I did. It made me angry.
Wow.
Read the book, Making a Negro into a Christian. What was practiced in the Western world was called Christianity, but it was nowhere near the Christianity of the Bible and the Christianity in the book of Acts. It was nowhere near. There's no way you can be a good Christian and enslave people. That was totally against what the divinely inspired scripture said. There was no way that you could be a good Christian and be superior. Jesus said the Gentiles exercise dominion. That shouldn't be happening. Jesus said that. So how can you be a good Christian exercising dominion when you're reading in the book that you go on Sundays and say, and it tells you that you shouldn't do that? So Western Christianity has never been what Christianity is in the Bible. Just hasn't been there.
Okay, so now this may be a little off topic in regards to Black history, but I got to ask you because you mentioned it. Do you think the church is still complicit in what it's teaching when it comes to Black history?
I think and I'm going to go a couple of years ago. Carlton Pearson was being interviewed, and I saved the audio for that interview because I played portions of it at the church one time. And this is not 1600, not 1700, not 1800, not 1900. This was 2021 when he did this interview. And Carlton Pearson said he would be in the room and they called him the N-word.
Yeah, I remember that interview. You did.
They say, "Oh, he's a good end. He's a good end." And he's called the names. He called the Crouches at TBN. He called all these names of the people that said they considered him a good end, a good end. And so when you say, is it still there? It's still there. Yeah, it's still. I'm not going to say all of Caucasian, it's not. I'm not going to say, but really, all Caucasians was never like that. When you read the book, when I read the book, Changing a Negro into a Christian, and they actually have the actual documents that religious leaders wrote back in that day, the Methodists were always saying that Black people are people like we are. We are all one. They lived. The Methodists was the group. What they lived with Black people. They said no. They have no difference between us and them. That's why, to me, I don't understand why everybody's not Methodist today. Because when I read that history and looked at those documents, the Methodists were always forceful in their denial of superiority because of a race. They were always like that. They was always doing that, right? Right. So everybody was never, all white people were never like that. So all white people aren't like that today. But there is quite a bit, and Carlton Pearson called them out. He said when he first went into the meeting, they said, what are you doing here? This N-word doing in here? And then somebody said, oh, that's Oral's N. They said, oh, okay, he could be good. And he said he put up with it because he was trying to create an environment for the Black church so that we could have our own structure and not have to depend upon that. But so is it there? Everybody, it's not there with everybody, but it never was everybody. But there is a significant amount. And if I was going to be worshiping at somewhere that's not under Black leadership, if I was going to be worshiped, I'd want to know how they view this and how they look at this, because a lot of times the people say, well, we they don't discuss it, don't deal with it, and that is let's keep it the same way it's always been and everybody be happy. And I have that a whole lot growing up in my hometown. People, a lot of my white friends say, we all got along, we was doing good. Well, yeah, for them, they don't know what we had to deal with,
right?
And we had to kind of take a back seat because of the environment. Now, for them, it was like, well, we were all fine, we were all friends, and that's the way it appeared. But man, we went through hell. Yeah. But we just couldn't. We just had to make it, and we couldn't show it, right? And so that's why we don't want it to stay the same, because I don't want my children. I want my children to be as free as you all were, even though we wasn't, right? So yeah, it's there, and we're seeing today. We're seeing a major. I was listening today where they said that the Speaker of the House has really came out and praised this one guy that basically this one Christian church, and he prayed and talked about how influential they are to him. And this particular pastor is one that preached the approval of slavery in the Bible and slavery. And just today, the Speaker of the House was saying how this person influenced him and how his ministry does so much for him. So is it that? Yeah, it's still there, right? And that's why it's so important for us to teach our children the truth, because the narrative has to be reset. And that narrative was established, and there was so much complicity in the narrative. And I'll give you another one. In my class that I teach, that I put together on this, I start that class out by showing you when I was growing up, there was one popular Bible that everybody, if you could afford it, right? The Bible at the time cost $60 or $70, which was a whole lot in the 70s in Arkansas. But there was one guy that was a preacher at the church. He had a decent job, and he saved up and he bought that Bible, and he bragged on that Bible. He bring to church all that. Showed it was the most racist commentary. Had the most racist commentary. As a matter of fact, when in like 91 and 92, my wife bought me one for birthday present. I never used it. I'm like, but I pull out in this class. I pull out some of the commentary out of this Bible. And
now is this a Dake's Bible we talking about?
Bible. And I pull out some of the commentary, and some of the commentary talks about why God never want black people and white people together.
Wait a minute, what's the name of this Bible again?
It's called the Dake's Bible.
It's Annotated Reference Bible.
Yep, I know it well.
And he said, he gives a list of 30 reasons why God doesn't want black people, doesn't want the races together, and he talks about especially the dark races, right? So now, what happened was, and with each one of those reasons, he gives a bunch of scriptures. Now, what happened was, Fred Price jumped on it, and they took that 30 reasons out. But they didn't go to each one of them scriptures and change it. They just took the list of the 30 reasons out. So what does that mean? So now people say, well, they corrected that. Well, yeah, they took the 30 reasons out, but each one of those reasons had scriptural basis that they said this was the reason why. Did you go back and look at each one of those and see that they changed those? And so I took the hard path. I prayed and asked God and seek God for understanding, because a lot of this narrative setting and narrative establishment was still around. I told you what Carlton Pearson said, but in my class, the first chapter, I show you, because I still have that Bible. I show you those 30 reasons, and I show you how people are preaching a white superiority message, and they don't even realize it. And then a lot of people are worshiping in places that say, we're not going to talk about it, but that's the foundation and the basis for what they're doing. All right, even though they may not be racist, but you can ignorantly sign on to stuff without even knowing it. And you can be doing it without even knowing it. So whether that's still around, yeah, it's still around. We've seen more of it in the last 12 years, or really the last 16 years, because once Obama went into the White House, you saw a lot of people that stepped up, and all that. And there was a report that a lot of Black people left churches that had white pastors during that time, because they actually got to see that when you get through preaching about love and all that, it was hard for them to say to support a Black man that was in power when they supported someone else. And the church has a lot to do with it. And Carlton Pearson said in his interview, one of the reasons is that those white churches get so much money. And they got so much money. They get so much money from the government, and they got so much money to disseminate. So long as you say the right thing, they can get you the money. And he said, the reason I know is because I was getting the money.
That's crazy. I have to ask you this, Pastor, because as I was going through the book, and as you were going through your timeline and explaining the events and everything, and you had scriptural backing for everything that you put in the book. I have to ask the question, because if this information has always been in the Bible and it's always existed, why is it that it's never been taught to the extent to which you explain it in the book? Do you think that maybe the time for it, people wasn't ready to receive it? Or do you think that, because you mentioned it earlier, you were saying that now this seems like this is a time now where people are seeking the truth, and I think that's especially true for believers, because with so much going on, you have a lot of people that's really just trying to grasp on to what's true and what's real. Why do you think now is the time? And you may not know the answer to this, but why do you believe the Lord gave you this now for this time? Considering that this has always been there, right? This has always been in the Bible. Why now? But why is this so important now?
The environment now is set for change and truth. We're seeing all over the world people that have been oppressed, the people that have been the bottom pushing back. They're saying, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Now, it's always been there, but in our community, we how would I say it? We change. And I don't want to get into it, because I will talk about a lot of this Sunday. Okay. Sunday, a lot of this is gonna come to us Sunday, right?
I'm asking the same question Sunday. That's what I'm gonna do.
The Black church was making strides at one time, and then all of a sudden the focus moved from making strides to actually having stuff.
Come on, Pastor. Come on.
Having stuff.
Come on, Pastor. Come on.
In order to get that stuff, and in order to build the big cathedral, in order to have all this here, then you don't want to. You basically don't want to rock the boat. You those people with the money. Carlton Pearson even said it. With the money, if he said they need people to say certain things to get them money.
Yes, sir.
Money. And so even though it was there, a lot of people didn't care about that, because, hey, I can make more money as a pastor if I give you a word Sunday. I call you up and say God said this and God said that, instead of teaching you who you are and what God invested in you. And that's gonna push back against all the erroneous teaching. right? Just won't say nothing about that. Let me just tell you about what God gonna do for you if you do this, and how God gonna bless you, and how God gonna do this, right? How God gonna do this. So in the early church, and I'm gonna say this, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm gonna say it.
This is a safe space. You say what you gonna say.
Space. I say what you want to say on here.
In the early church, the preachers was the preachers, and the entertainers were the entertainers. And we need good gospel Christian entertainment just like anybody else, right?
Absolutely.
The preacher was the preacher. His focus was on the word of God
and saving souls,
and bringing people to a better place.
Yes,
today, pastoring has become a popularity thing.
Come on, Pastor. Come on.
So you got people that are out front and that they're holding up, not because they have such great understanding of the word and all that, but because they were popular in singers, so they are master. They were popular entertainers, they master crowd. And then when they got the crowd, they decided they were going to be pastoring, and the crowd goes with them. And when the pastor was the preacher, or the preachers was the preacher, and that's what they did. Look at all that the church accomplished coming out of slavery.
Yes, sir.
Right. We were making strides, right? Yes, but now it's about stuff. And the way you get stuff is to be an influencer and not necessarily a preacher.
Come on.
And the Bible never say, how can they hear without an influencer? The Bible say, how can they hear without an influencer?
Bars right there, Mike. Bars.
How can you preach except he be sent?
That's what's up.
The environment today is conducive to influencing. So if I say the things that you like to hear, and I say the right things, to get influence, and you get a lot of people, and then a lot of people, you become prominent. And then when you become prominent, everybody looks to you. And what's the downside of that? What's the downside of that? Is that we are not making the strides as a people.
Right, Pass. That's right.
Back then.
Yes, sir.
That's that. I mean, just the bottom line. We're not making those strides that we did. But the reason the Lord, this is the time for this now, because God is moving us back to where He said, how can you hear without the preacher? And how can he preach except he be sent? God is moving us back to a place where you're gonna have to, you push the preacher to the side, you pushed him in a corner, told him to shut up, he did nothing, then you put nothing. But God is moving us back, moving us to a place where you're gonna need the preacher that's been sent.
Yes, sir.
Because the influencer don't have the ear of God, don't have the authority of God, don't have the power of God. So if you want to move forward, you're going to have to go back to that preacher that you kicked into the corner for the influencer. So you get a choice now. Do you want, and granted, man, look, we could become a mega church because I could go in there Sunday and just start I'm gonna give you a word. The Lord said this, and the Lord said that. And when a lot of this stuff never happens.
No, it's just general. Stuff.
But the people are emotional. The people come there, and you get you basically we have the reason that we stopped making the strides is because we traded in the preacher for the influencer.
Come on, Pass.
And it is destroying us as a people. But now God is saying that we're going to have to go back to the preacher. I asked the Lord that same question because I said, Lord, why? I thought I was through with writing this because I don't want to be viewed as a racist or just a black this to that. But the Lord said to me, He said, I raised you for this. When you first came into church and you were doing all that studying, I was preparing you to do this. Because I didn't want to write another a book. I'd written Biblically Black and Blessed 1 and 2. I said, I like the purpose and I like winning spiritual wars. Can I go there? I like that. Can I do that? And the Lord, look, I was in DC last year, and the people were asking me, oh, you should create a course. So I created a course, and I said, I'm going to teach a course. When I got the course done, the Lord said, now put it in a book. And that's how I ended up with this. But I was like, man, do I have to do that again? Because I like winning spiritual wars, and I like your purpose. Those are kind of things that you want to do if you want to be an influencer.
No, Pastor.
Yeah, but see that, but you ain't trying to be no influencer, Pastor.
No,
You know what?
Pastor,
One thing we've always said on this show, and we've always said, listen, if you're gonna do anything, we would rather you be informed instead of influenced.
Yep.
Because we never try to sway decisions. We never try to sway point of views. Even when stuff come out, and people that follow us know us, we never talk on too many things like right as soon as they happen.
No,
we kind of sit back
let
and
it simmer
like,
for a couple of days, and we got to sit back and see how things
what's
happen.
going on, because you just don't want to go out there and just talk about it, because that's just the thing. Because if the conversation is to be had, we want to bring something out of the conversation, not just to have it. And so this book, to me, really, really embodies that. This book isn't just talking about Black people just to talk about Black people.
No.
But it's talking about Black people because we need to know and understand the role that we played in this world. And the role that we played in the Bible, as we say.
But Mike, that's why I don't like when folks say, y'all reading that white man's book and all that crap. And people don't know, man, it's a lot of Christians in Africa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Black folks are being talked about all through the Bible. They let you know Jesus is Black in the Bible. So how's it a white man's book?
Well, all you got to do is go to page 90 and 91 in this book.
I was just listen. We right there. we right there.
They were first called Christians in Africa, and it only names 4 people.
Yeah,
that was at the center of that movement.
Yes, sir.
This is one of the pages I have bookmarked too.
3 of them were Black. So, I mean, but see, that shows you how powerful setting the narrative is. Because we've been reading this all our lives.
All our lives.
And
all
but
our lives has been there.
Because the narrative that had been set was one way. We just dismissed it and just assumed that they were this and that. But it was telling us that Lucius was from Cyrene, which is North Africa. It told us that Simeon, the Niger, Black.
Yeah.
Barnabas really for Cyprus, a Scythian Jew and that's an island of north of Africa, kind of like Yemen is on the east of Africa. North of Africa and west of Israel. He was Black too.
Yep. Absolutely. Listen, real quick, because since you took me there, I want, and we're talking about narratives and how the narratives have been changed and factual things. Real quick, talk about the Queen of Sheba when she visited Solomon, because there's this narrative about the Queen of Sheba like she wasn't nobody, or like she was lower than what she. But talk about the event with the Queen of Sheba and when she went to go visit Solomon and how she was the one who co-signed on Solomon.
The Queen of Sheba was the authority figure in that meeting. And watch this. When you read Psalms 72, Solomon prays to the Lord that the God would make his name great and God would elevate him and make him world renowned. God did that by sending the Queen of Sheba, Makeda was her name, by sending her up and basically she gave her approval to Solomon. She was already powerful. She was already world renowned. She was already established. And what happened in Ethiopia? She kept hearing about, there's this guy up there north of North Africa that he got some promise. He really could be something. He could do something. So she kept hearing about it. So she said, let me go up there. Now, this is how you see that she was the authority figure in that meeting. Because when she first got to Solomon, the Bible said the first thing she did was gave him a test.
Yeah.
She asked him hard questions. Let me see. And then she looked at analyzed him. And then what Jesus said, what she did, then Jesus said she went back and told the world the half ain't never been told. She endorsed him.
Yes,
she gave her approval, and his prayers was answered. When she gave her approval to Solomon, he became this world-renowned figure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just looking at the scripture as it is. Now, when you go to Ethiopian history, and I had to do that in order to get this done, you find out that Makeda, when she came up there, not only did she endorse him and approve him, but her and Solomon had a relationship. And they had a son, and that son became the king of the Solomonic Ethiopian dynasty. And the Ethiopian people to this day acknowledge their beginnings and how they emanated from the child that was born between Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, Makeda. But she was the authority figure. Solomon was just getting started. He was known in Israel, but according to the 72nd Psalms, he prayed that he be known globally, that he be known worldwide. And so God sent the Queen of Sheba up to endorse him and give her approval, and he became world renowned. Why? Because she was world renowned. Because her approval and her authority, it carried weight in the world. Solomon at the time was nothing.
See, you talk about moments of these are moments. These are Black history moments.
Yes, sir. It really is
in the Bible. One more, then we're gonna let you go. The birth of Jesus and when he was taken out of Egypt. Talk on that a little bit. These are Black history moments, people. This is why the timeline is important. Timeline that's in the book.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is back. We joke about it because it's something that he says a lot, and I just picked up on it, but it's in the Bible. It's there.
I mean, you really can't dispute it. I mean, because
it can't be disputed.
He's come with scriptures to validate everything that he's saying.
Everything.
Y'all get this book and read it to your kids, man.
My interpretation.
There you go.
Now, y'all can't see it because the green screen is kind of blending in with the background.
Screen, but you can see. But the reason that's so important because it shows and really what it really shows. It shows that the Jews have the assignment of being the priest, but the Black nations have the assignments of being, which I'm going to talk about this Sunday, God's strength and power in this earth. Mm-hmm. And so when Jesus needed protection, where did God send him?
Egypt.
He sent him to the land of Ham, Egypt. And he fit in the land of Ham, Egypt, because he looked like the people that was protecting him. There's
That's right.
And buts odds about it. The Suez Canal was not dug out until the 18th, 19th century, I think it was, or maybe 18th century. Until then, that was one landmass. Canaan, just northern Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesus went to Africa. God sent him to Africa for protection, just like he sent Jacob to Africa to develop Israel, just like he sent Abraham to Africa.
Yes, sir.
To basically save him, because that is the function and that is the divine assignment in God's kingdom that the Hamitic people have.
Yes, sir.
Just like Jewish people have an assignment as priests, we have the assignment as protectors and strength to strength. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna blow the lid off of this Sunday because I every morning my routine is the same. Every morning I get up about, I don't know, sometimes it's early at midnight and go into the guest bedroom and pray. And then I pray myself to sleep. And I pray myself to sleep, pray myself to sleep. And one morning I woke up way before day and the Lord said something to me that's going to be the core of my message, and it's going to blow the lid off of it. If you don't know who you are, Black folks, this Sunday, and I'm not, because I told my wife, I'm not going to keep that. I'm going to preach a message. It's going to be out there when I preach it. When the service is over with, we're going to take it offline, and we may release excerpts of it. But what the Lord said to me, my jaw dropped. But then when he showed me in the scripture, it became ever so clear what the Cushites, the Black nations include the Cushites, the Egyptians, the Libyans in northern Africa. But when God said that it became so clear the assignment that the Cushites have in God's kingdom on earth. And when I do this Sunday, if you don't know, you're gonna know, because not you're gonna see, you're gonna understand then some of the things we talked about today. Why there's so much separation and there's so much, the Black people can't hardly ever come together. You're gonna understand why there's a comprehensive and a very thorough effort to keep us divided.
Last thing, Pastor, you talked about in the book, there's a chapter called God's Governance and Black Spirituality. And you talk about there were 4 points when it comes to the governance of man. How does this book and the events that happen in this book, how does it connect to the spirituality of the Black man, or why is it important to the spirituality of the Black man?
It is, and I got into a debate with someone this week because Black people are always talking about the spirituality of our African ancestors, and most of them don't even understand the spirituality of our African ancestors. And as I spoke a couple of weeks ago, I told you there's a congressman down in Florida talking about she thanked God for slavery.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for slavery, she would be in Africa worshiping a tree. That's what she said. That was just ignorance at a level that I've never heard it before.
Hey, I think she's related to Kanye or something. I forget.
Relax.
In order to understand Black spirituality, you have to understand the way God governed people and the time periods. And when you understand that, you understand that African spirituality was never about idol worship.
Come on.
It was never about idol worship. And I'll say this without giving away this. Yes. If I wake up every morning and I see the sun, how great it is, and the sun shines on my plants, and my plants bud, and I get food, the sun gives me warmth, and I know that I'm getting a great benefit, a life benefit from the sun. And I know I don't control it.
That's right.
Now, if God has not given me instructions and not revealed himself to me, then I start thinking the sun is the one that's great. So I may say, I may initiate a worship with the sun in the center, but I'm not worshiping the sun. The sun is just a placeholder for the God that hasn't revealed himself to me, to the God that I have no knowledge of, right? And that's why when you look, when you actually study African spirituality, they wasn't worshiping something that they were worshiping God, but God had never revealed himself to them. So they were worshiping things that they knew that was greater than them, that they couldn't control. And that thing was replacing God. Paul said, he said, God winked at the ignorance. because God had never told them. Ignorance means they just didn't know. So you can't charge them with idol worshiping, and God had never revealed himself to them. And they were not, and you can see they were some of the most ethical, some of the most moral people in the world. Right? But God did not, and that's why God called Abraham out and said, I'm gonna let you ought to be the priest so you could. And Abraham said, even then, they didn't know who God was. They just knew that there was a supreme being, and they didn't know whether it was the sun, whether it was the moon. They know these things was great. They didn't have that. They didn't control, and so those things were not. They were not saying that they were not rejecting God, and they were dismissing God. They were saying we don't. All we know is what we see here, and so that became the placeholder for God. And Paul said God winked at that ignorance. So yeah, I mean, you have to understand, but to get there, you have to understand God's governance methods. Even Paul said, where there is no law, there's no transgression of the law. So if God hasn't told you, hasn't said, X, what, thou shalt not do this, how can you break something when you're doing that if God hadn't told you that? Right. So Paul said, where there is no law, there's no transgression of the law. And so they did not know, and our ancestors, they were not worshiping idol gods. They were trying to give glory to the God that made the sun, that did all, but they didn't know who he was. They had no knowledge. God had not given them that knowledge.
That makes sense. That makes, I love that. Yeah.
And said, Abraham, I'm going to use your people and I'm going to teach you all, and then you all share that knowledge with the world. But Abraham failed, or his people failed.
I love that though, because when you think about it, like you were saying, that they weren't worshiping the sun and play like as God, but they just knew that this great thing was provided by somebody.
Yeah.
And so we give honor to this thing. We thank God. We praise the sun because the sun grows our crops, and we praise the water because the water, help the crops to grow. We praise it for the earth because the earth is what produced the crops. And all of these things came from God. Right. And so it wasn't idol worship, but they were worshiping the things that were tangible to them, that they knew
exactly what it is.
See,
and until God revealed himself, what would you expect?
Exactly.
And this is exactly why we have to be careful with narratives and how stories and how things are presented to us, especially when it comes to us and our people. Listen, our time is about up, but I know it seems like we talked about a lot, but there's a lot in this book that we did not cover. And I encourage you that if you don't have a copy of it, I need you to go on Amazon right now and go ahead and get and order you a copy of this book. It is available right now. And it is, if you want to know Black history according to the word of God, according to the Bible, if you want Black history with biblical facts to back it up, not just conjecture, not just assumptions, not just what he feel and what he think, but there is scriptural backing to everything that he says in this book. I encourage you to go online and get this book. And while you're there, you might as well pick up Biblically Black and Blessed 1 and 2. Just get the set. I mean, I'm just saying, just go ahead.
If you got any teenagers, some young adults, be sure to let them read it. Be sure to let them read it.
Absolutely.
All three of those books, I think they're young Black teenagers or young Black adults. They should read those 3 books.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. And I got it last Sunday, and I was like, I need to get through it. And I got through a lot of it. And I told Phil this morning, I said, man, I'm gonna have to go back and reread it because I had to reread like once. I'm like, because it was blowing my mind the things that I was reading. I'm like, and like the scriptures. Then you look at the scriptures, like, well, hey, I mean, he fact checked them with scriptures. So I mean, hey, I know. You know what? There was some really, really good questions. I'm hoping that if the pastor has time, if he goes back through the chat and he sees the question, maybe he can answer them. I mean, but this is something that you definitely can't talk about in one show because
No.
it's a lot to unpack. I mean, it's a lot to unpack, and you won't be able to answer everything, of course. But I mean,
But you can catch him Sunday at 10 o'clock.
yeah, listen, I'm just saying, if y'all ain't doing it on Sunday morning, most of y'all go to Bedside Baptist anyway. I'm just saying, just watch the live stream.
Mike, don't do that. Don't do that, Mike. Don't do that.
.net, and you can register. I'm going to actually teach a master class on this.
Go ahead and repeat that link, or we can post it in the chat too, Pastor.
Yeah, you got the information?
HenryRaiserMinistries.net.
Okay. Make sure you put it in the chat so they can see the link. They can go there and check it out.
And I'm going to be doing a master class on this on the 17th. And if you want to spend a Saturday with me, we're going to do this. And that way questions and all that can be dealt with. I'm actually checking out some online virtual classrooms, trying to get one set up that we can do, because people have asked me to do the Revelation class again, and so that always I've been constant. So I'm trying to get a online classroom set up. I don't want to just do Zoom, and so what did I do? I probably typed that in wrong. It's a Henry Raiser, HEN. I put that first one is wrong. HenryRaiser.net. That one's right.
That's the right one. Okay.
The first one ain't gonna take you nowhere. It's got some. I couldn't spell my last name. I got a Q in. But we're going. The whole idea is this year I've created these classes on a lot of areas: Revelation, Dominion, in defense of the word, and this Black history according to God's word. And I'm going to be teaching those this year and going forward like never before in that regard. But I'll look back through the comments when I get a chance to.
Yeah, because I definitely saw Tina had a couple of questions. She definitely had a couple of questions, and I know some other people I think that may have posted some questions too. I couldn't get to all of them because I mean, if you do a live stream, you know how it is. You're trying to run everything at the same time, and but there was some really good questions.
And the chat is in the comment section, y'all.
Yeah, just definitely just make sure you put it in the comment section if you have any questions about what you what you heard on the show tonight. Definitely get the book. I see there's no Audible version of it, Pastor. Look, I got a little time on my hands, so I
need to get an Audible and a ebook on it. But you know what? This time my publisher, I'm glad she really loves me, right? Because I don't spend a lot of time writing the book. Then when the Lord tell me to write, I start writing, and I say I need to get this out. I get it to her. We need to get this out. I need to get this out, and she just makes it happen. But I know she would like for me to be on a schedule, so that I can actually get a book to her and give her time to get it edited and all that other stuff. But I'm using, I got to get this out. I got to get this out because the Lord just gave me this. Boom, boom, boom. And sometimes she's turned things around really quickly, right? Yeah. But I think we're going to eventually get the Audible, and we're going to get. I really need the Audible for all three of these. And
let me know. Like I said, I got some extra time, man, and I got some pretty decent equipment now. So if you need an Audible, I got you.
And I need to get the ebook out. I didn't do this one.
I enjoyed doing the first one.
Yes.
So listen, that's it for us guys, man. Look, Black History According to the Word of God. It's available on Amazon, and where else can they purchase it, Pastor?
Anywhere books are sold.
Anywhere books are sold. There you go.
Walmart, Target, Goodreads, thrift books, anywhere that's sold.
Anywhere your paperback books are sold, people, you can get you a copy of Black
History. Thank you so much, Pastor, for coming. Thank you.
Absolutely. Listen, I don't know about y'all, but I'm ever encouraged, and I hope that this conversation encouraged you all to do a little bit more research. Learn a little bit more about who you are, what you are, not only as it pertains to the Bible, but just as it pertains to just our heritage and who we are as a people, because those things were taken from us, and we were not privy to them. Until 1619, where it just seemed like black people just showed up out of nowhere.
Yep.
But as I said, our history goes back to the beginning, and it shows it here in this book that's we were there at the beginning, y'all. We've been there. You know what I'm saying? And so these books like these are very important. Listen, this is just part one of a month-long celebration of Black authors. I wanted to celebrate authors on this month because Black literature is important. And it seems to be something that folks is trying to phase out, but we ain't gonna let it happen. I refuse.
Not at all.
We appreciate all our Black authors. Listen, next week we got a young man by the name of Brennan Allen Steele. He's going to be on, and he has an excellent book called Breathe. Then it's a guide to it's a self-help guide for Black men. I had him on before, and I had to have him come back on again, man. He's going to be our guest on next week. And then the week after that, we got Brother Eddie Phillips. He has a book coming out. I'm putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be coming out on the date he's on the show.
Oh, Brother Eddie, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to definitely have him on. And then on the final Friday of this month, I have a brother named Antoine Williams. Listen, y'all know I'm a comic book fan. This dude wrote, he illustrated, and he published his own comic book, man. And it's awesome. I mean, and the way it ties to Black heritage and Black history and after it's legit. We got a lineup for y'all this month. So I appreciate everybody that came out to hang with us on tonight. I appreciate you, Pastor, for taking your time out, because I know around this time of the month you're busy and folks is calling you and asking you to be on there. But you know what? You took this time out. And I just want to also thank you for how you've been supporting us over the years.
Thank you so much.
You've always supported the podcast, and we appreciate that. And we just thank you, man.
Because I just threw it out there, Mike. We was in church. He was talking. I said, yeah, you got to come on the show, Pastor. He said, I guess the show.
You got.
And I told him, I said, the second we go back, he's like, okay, I guess so. Pastor, whenever you have a book, he always makes sure you come in. So thank you so much for that.
Eric said it for June, which is the LGBTQ month. We're gonna have to have Eric.
Eric, relax. Eric, you're doing too much, Eric. You're doing too much right now, man.
Black history.
Right. I'm like, what happened to Juneteenth? Now, come on, Eric. We gotta work something out. We gotta figure it out.
Black Music Month.
Yes. But listen, I love you guys, man. Appreciate everybody that hung out on tonight. Make sure you like, tag, and share this video. Pastor, let them know where they can find, if you have social media, if you want them to follow you on social media, any events you got coming up, you can go ahead and put that and put it out there.
I'm on social media at Henry Razor -author. That's YouTube. I have a page, Henry Razor -author, on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I'm on Instagram and TikTok.
Now, yes.
TikTok as Henry Razor -author. I'll be online doing shows. I've been contacted to do a couple of the shows. I'm headed down to Texas at the Black African American Book Festival down there. I had to actually turn down another trip to Memphis the same weekend because I'd already committed to that trip where they're having a Black history thing there. But my goal is to kind of team up with some other people, partner with Eddie Phillips, so we can keep the Black history going 24/7, 365. And
he just said that too. He said, "I'm going to need you to schedule with me to come on Erudition." Yeah, man.
That's what's up.
Not just during the month of February.
Absolutely.
That's probably the one of the worst things that happened to us is that Black history only becomes relevant to so many of us during the month of February. But if we're going to change the narrative, it's got to be something that we've got to do on a continual and a consistent basis. And I thank God for the Erudition Network because they do that.
Yes, every Thursday.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday he does it. Absolutely.
And see, this is where we got to get to for good talk. This is a good show, man up. That's why I started sharing it months ago. Just share it when it comes on. When we talk about Black history, we got to be talking about the Erudition Network.
Absolutely.
You know? And here's the thing: we don't have to try to get on somebody else's platform. We can build our own.
Build
That's
your
right.
own.
That's right.
Build your own.
That's right.
Pastor, I was just talking about this last week. I was like, I love the network in the village that I'm part of. I said, because when I look at people like Eddie, I look at people like Tony Briscoe, I look at the stuff that you do, the stuff that we do, even Sean Pritchard. I know they don't do the MP3, but the stuff that they still do, like just that being part of that, I love the network that I'm part of.
Yeah,
And
I'm not gonna complain about it.
I can't do this like the and you think about stuff that you can get done when you come together and work together, you know, and then but that's another thing too. It's like you have to, you know, we gotta learn how to get out of our feelings too, people. You know, and learn how to work with each other and stop worrying about who leading, who gonna get the most publicity, who gonna do this. Listen.
Put the egos to the side.
Let's put the egos to the side and let's just work and just start building again, man. It's it's gonna be hard, but I think we can do it. And you know, with the knowledge that we have between the books that the pastor's writing, the knowledge that Eddie is giving every Thursday for free, might I add,
$3.99.
He could easily be somewhere getting paid for this knowledge, but he is giving it out there for free. It's out there for free. Listen, it's no excuse now. It's no excuse.
Yes, sir. That's right.
It's no excuse to say I didn't know. You know, so but we thank you, Pastor, for coming on and spending this time with us. We thank all of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We thank all of you all for hanging out. Phil, anything you gotta say before we leave, sir?
Birthday mode finna kick in. Get it right, get it left, get it right, get it left, get it. Birthday mode. Right. But thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
All right, look, that's it for us. And until we talk again, my friends, you all have a safe weekend. Make sure you tune back in next week for Black History Celebration of Authors Part 2 with Brendan Allen Steele. It's going to be another good one. Fellas, y'all need to tune into this one.
Yes,
for real.
Please.
Got to tune into this one. This is going to be
especially for the fellas next week for sure.
Yeah, man. So on behalf of Philip Hines and our guest, Pastor Henry Razor, we thank you all for tuning in. And until we talk again, my friends, y'all get 2 fingers to the side. Make sure you holler at your boys because we out.
Peace.